we Doug offered. I know you said no at the time when I was talking to Doug. So I guess I got to represent just a little bit here. People are like, "Oh, you should get since you talked about Alan and Doug, you should get them on the same episode." I think I tried once. Alan said, "No, I'm not going to push it." So I got to represent just
I'm not ever going to appear in any forum with Douglas Goldstein. There is no equivalence. He is a treacherous little tour manager. He is not a producer. He is not a manager. Um, Faye,
before I
Faye who did the um, shows in Denver, apparently famously said that he was an overpaid security guard.
there's a because while I enjoy your way with words, there's a few things I want to just say for him, and then you can react. Because yes, was hired as a tour manager, and he really explicitly said to me that we had a great division of labor. He did his thing, I did my thing. It worked.
He
That it got
didn't do, there was no division of labor. He was my fucking employee. That is not a division of labor. That is him painting himself in the best possible light that he can. He was my employee.
well. This sets up something else because he said that you were at the risk of Axel firing you, and there was a specific incident
Permanently.
of Axel fire. No, it was before this. That
Permanently. Axel was always threatening to fire people or quit. I mean,
and
he had me banned from the Aerosmith tour for 3 weeks at the beginning of it because I refused to cancel the tour. The problem was, Axel, I didn't sign a contract just for you and your whim. I signed a contract with 5 individuals collectively known as Guns N' Roses, and I have a responsibility to 5 people, not just one. The other 4 wanted to go on tour. As it was, I chose a very strange way to, off the wall way, to get out of that conundrum when he called me and said, cancel the tour, because I've got Izzy in the room who said, Niv, we got to go, and everybody else wants to go and do the tour, but Axel says, cancel it. So I picked up a pair of dice and threw them. Do you know that story?
no, what
Goldstein was in the room. He didn't bother to tell you that story.
no, I will say there was so much that we didn't even get to. That was part of the frustration of the book is that I was given these deadlines where I wasn't getting. I got a lot of stories. I know I didn't get everything, but his thing was that he basically saved your job. This is his word. This is his thinking. That he was saving your job consistently for like almost 2.5 years.
Do you
Axel
know
must have.
what Tom Zutaut told me?
What's that? Tom. Oh, well, I know what Tom said because he wants to charge me $5,000 for an interview. This
Oh,
is
good
free.
God. You're kidding me.
That's what he told a friend of mine. I said, "Can you reach out?"
Oh, my God.
So
Oh, my
no,
God.
I
All
don't
right.
pay for interviews, let alone 5K. But anyway,
So,
continue.
so it's Axel's birthday. And I actually go round to his apartment that morning and I take him a really nice white Ovation guitar as a birthday present. And then I had a dinner for him at Le Dome, the dump, as we used to call it. Um, Axel, Tom, and Doug and Tom went up to Axel's apartment to pick him up and bring him down to the dinner. And everybody else was there. We were all there. We were all seated at the table, and I was seated at the end of the table, and I felt a hand go on my shoulder. And then Tom's head was right here, and he whispered in my ear, Doug Goldstein is not your friend, which was the first time I had a third party tell me that he is putting poison in Axel's ear all the time. In Slash's own book, he said, it was obvious to him that Goldstein wanted to snatch the brass ring. He was a treacherous individual.
So Doug, I was gonna have this conversation with him if we got to it, that he needed to soften his stance on Slash, even though Slash had said some poor things about him in his book because Slash is so beloved. But he was like, Slash and I did so much of the business together. We would be in the same hotel room working on the business together. So I don't know where
Bullshit.
he believes that that Slash and Duff, their minds, their history has changed because of, unfortunately, of what you have said. So Doug wants to clear his name. So again, I'm trying to tell a story. Uh,
Bullshit. The one
okay.
person, first of all, he was the tour manager, okay? An employee. Secondly, in terms of relying on a band member to quote unquote talk about the business and do the business, the one person I could rely on consistently was Izzy. Duff was a drunk and not connected to the business side. Slash was being Slash, and especially when he was younger, he really was Slash. You can imagine the shit he got up to. Stevie had nothing to contribute in terms of business. And Axel was usually locked away in one of his homes, pissing and moaning about something. The one person I could rely on to talk to was Izzy.
Okay. He didn't have he said there wasn't much about Izzy, that you and Izzy, that you were the pair, that from day one Izzy thought he looked like a cop and never really trusted him. That's
He did
what.
look like a cop. His father was a cop. His
Yes, he
father was a
was.
motorbike cop.
Yes.
I met
Well,
him and he gave me the creeps.
well, here's actually a point
I'm
you need
not
to.
good with authority figures, especially cops.
Well, here's a good thing to bring up based up to jump off that point. Obviously, uh, and we'll talk about your book later, but in the theoretical Doug book, of course, like with any autobiography, you talk about your childhood, and I wanted to focus a lot on that because everyone does the drug, sex, and rock and roll stuff. So building a good foundation of who you are. So part of the foundation of who he was came down to he saw the relationship between his father and his brother in you and Axel. That he saw his brother was bipolar. And by the way, these are stories that Doug has told before in interviews on my podcast. That kind of what frustrated me. I'm like, what's new that you're telling me when you've told all these stories before? But he said that you were kind of like almost an authority to Axel, and that the father, just like you said, was an authority. So he's like, oh my God, I'm reliving my childhood. And he spent so, he's like, I couldn't fix my dad and my brother. Let me
Stop right
fix
there.
Alan and Axel. Okay.
Stop right there.
Okay.
Okay? Stop right there. Because you've hit a good point. Authority figure to Axel? I was an authority figure to all of them. They were a bunch of fuck ups who Geffen wanted to drop. Eddie Rosenblatt wanted to drop the band before Note 1 of Appetite ever got recorded. When I came on board and signed a contract with them, apparently Rosenblatt told Zutaut that he was going to give me 3 months to turn it around and make it look productive, otherwise the band was going. Tom didn't tell me that until years later, by the way. But when I came on board, as far as Geffen was concerned, if I didn't make it look real within 3 months, they were going to get dropped. They were hellions. No one wanted to manage them. Why was I managing them? Because everybody else said no. Cliff and Peter, Tim Collins, I mean, all of them did not want to do it. I didn't want to do it to start with either. The seduction for me was actually Slash. When I realized, oh, he's really intelligent and charming. There's a little bit more to this than I thought. You know, that's where I started to get sucked in. But
Well, here's a
I was an authority figure to them all. Okay. Now, they'd gone through all their advances. They were a complete mess. The label wanted to drop them, and that's where I come in the door. When I walk out of the door, they just sold Wembley Stadium. I think I did my job. I think I did my job well. And the way I did my job was the way I had to do it to get the results. Now, are you going to say that I didn't do my job well?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Right.
Well, I dared not say that. Why would I ever say that?